Hi, my name is Guy Griffiths, and this is a version of a talk that I gave last week at the Gym Operators Conference. It was great to be back at that event. I've presented quite a few times over the years, took a break last year, we really got into some good discussions with the audience. I just wanted to do a version of the talk so that if you weren't there or you missed it, you were chatting to someone else on a stand, that you could get some of the retention tips that we were talking about. Just by way of introduction, if you've not met me before, my name's Guy Griffiths. GG Fit is my business, and my purpose is to help more people to be fitter and healthier by working with health and fitness clubs on member retention initiatives. Member retention, simply put, is talking to people. That's the secret. And the secret to great retention is talking to the right people in the right way at the right time. And we wrote a retention recipe book with our partners at Future Fit for Business, which you can download for free. There's a link at the end of these slides to download that. But today I want to take you through 7 retention tips in menu format. I do like the concept of recipes and menus. I love food, I love cooking, but I also love the fact that when we send out newsletters on behalf of clubs, and if you look at Joe Wicks's newsletter, for example, then there will always be a recipe, a food recipe in there, and it's nearly always the most clicked item. So check out Joe Wicks and other famous newsletters. You'll often see recipes in there because people love recipes. And the idea of these retention recipes that we wrote, they're short, sharp snippets that you can just try out and use or adapt or put your own flavor on. So that's what we're doing today as well. I've got a retention menu. I'm going to go through a couple of starters, first of all. In other words, tips that will help new members on their journey as they're starting at your gym or health club. I'm then going to talk through a couple of mains, ways of keeping your active members active. And then finally, I'm going to go through 3 desserts, sweeteners, if you like, for people who are maybe absent or people who are looking to leave. Not all of these will be appropriate for your club. We've tried them all out, and a lot of these are working at all sorts of different clubs, from independent gyms to multi-site large trusts to even some budget gyms as well will use these. But hopefully there'll be 1 or 2 for your club that you can start using tomorrow. And like I said, my purpose is to get more people fitter and healthier. So if it helps your members, then that's a box ticked. If you want to find out more, as I say, skip through to the end, and there's a couple of extras at the end for you. So the 30-day message, first of all. The 30-day message is, for starters, it's a nice thing to do. It's a good idea to send any new members 30 days after they join a congratulation message. Don't get me wrong, it's also good to send them a welcome message on the day that they join, and maybe some other check-ins as well through their first month. But if you send them something at the end of the first month, we suggest by text, then it's a really good way of just touching base with them, telling them they're doing well. Congratulations, Helen, you've been a member for a month now, for example. We hope that you're enjoying your workouts at Gym Inc. And that's the kind of thing we would send by text on behalf of a club. You can automate these, of course, but we would send that, get a little bit clever, a little bit extra here for you, if someone's made more than 4 visits, because then they get that congratulation message. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we're going to ignore the people who've made less than 4 visits. We're going to send them a slightly different message. So you've been a member for a month now. Make sure you book a check-in or class, so it's encouraging them to make another visit and to have an interaction when they make that visit. And these 2 messages might be going to a husband and wife, for example. They might not even notice that they're getting a different message or know why. But the reason is Bob has made less than 4 visits and Helen has been a bit more regular in her new member journey in those first 30 days. And I mentioned we often send this by text. It's a good idea as well to open the SMS channel early on in a member's journey. What you don't want to do is only send bad news by text. We'll get onto that later on with absent members. So sending 2 different messages, it does look a bit more complex, but those of you who know me will know that I love data. And what we build here is an instant KPI we can see if 100 members joined last month. We can look at how many congratulation messages we sent versus how many encourage messages we sent. If that's 50-50, your onboarding isn't going very well. You should really be aiming for at least 80-20. So 80 congratulation messages and 20 encourage messages. And then you can look at that and you can talk to your team and your staff or look at your onboarding processes and say, what do we need to do differently to improve this KPI? So that's a 30-day message. It's a nice thing to do. But if you send two different types of message, something that's congratulatory to those who made more than, say, 4 visits, or something more encouraging for those visiting less, then you also build a KPI that shows you how you're performing in terms of onboarding members. Your first idea there of a starter, a 30-day message. And here's, just to show you that stat and that kind of KPI in chart form, here's an example of messages that we have sent on behalf of a club, where in October we hit that. In fact, we exceeded it. We got 82 congratulation messages were sent, more than 4 visits, and 20 encourage messages. But you can see some months, January there, for example, and bear in mind January, it looks like low joiners, but January messages are sent for December joiners. So this does slide forward a month. People joining in December maybe weren't getting the onboarding process that they needed, or just weren't making enough visits because of Christmas, perhaps. But that KPI gives you some data and some dashboards as well, something that you can easily analyze, and you could either manually or, depending on your front of house system, quite often you can automate these comms to go. So the 30-day message there. The next one I'm going to jump into is slightly different. It's just looking, particularly for new members, but for all sorts of members, about feedback focus. A lot of clubs are worried about feedback because they think feedback will be bad. But even bad feedback is good if people are telling you. I think when people have a bad experience, they're more likely to tell 10 friends about it. Whereas if they have a good experience, I can't remember if it's 2 or 5. The point is you want to know. If someone has something to tell you, whether it's good or bad, it's better to find out, better for them to tell you than to leave that bad review on Google or TripAdvisor or whatever. So let's try and elicit more feedback from our members. We do that through app requests or direct messages, by sending out surveys, or just a simple net promoter score. Would you refer us to a family or friend, or on a score of 0 to 10? Would you recommend us to a family or friend? And then let's have some comments. Face-to-face is the best way of getting feedback. And if you implement things like the 3-meter rule, I won't go into it here, but you can see it on this. There's a clip somewhere else on the GG Fit YouTube channel, or on Future Fit's ProZone site, or indeed in the retention recipe book. The 3-meter rule is a way of basically saying hello to people within 3 meters of you in the club, but you will then get feedback from them because, again, you've opened that communication channel. I said it's a starter. You should always be asking joiners for feedback. They're normally in a good place, in a good mood. They've just made a great decision. They're feeling good about that decision to join your club. So let's get them in the habit of making feedback. Also, as people leave or cancel, it's a good point to get feedback. And we're working with a couple of clubs at the moment on getting feedback from non-joiners. If we can get some information about why they didn't join, or maybe even where they did join, that's going to help us to adapt and change and develop and improve, and might also give us some information that in the future we can use to get them to join again. So bringing all the feedback into one place is really key. That's quite easy for surveys and net promoter score, depending on the system you're using, but sometimes a bit harder for the verbal feedback. You don't need to record all the feedback, but important comments or things that need addressing should be recorded ideally in the same place. Then you can measure and act on the feedback. Act if you need to, you can respond or have some kind of you said, we did within your news, but also sharing it internally. A lot of the feedback that I've been looking at lately is around inductions or program reviews in terms of let's get a 5-star score on those and some comments. Nearly all of the inductions that are done, the clubs we're working with at the moment, get 4 or 5 stars, and the comments are normally glowing. So it's important to feed that back to the staff delivering those appointments, but also to the front of house team to say, look, guys, everyone's loving these inductions. Let's sell more of them. Look how people feel after an induction. And that helps the front of house team when more new members are joining to say, you should really have an induction. It's a really positive experience. So rewarding staff as well for those who collect the most feedback, hopefully, to get the most positive scores as well. But encouraging a culture of looking for and seeking feedback is really good, and it will help your retention ultimately. So a little bit there on feedback. I'm going to jump now into the mains. This is going a little bit quicker than it did on the day because obviously we had questions. I'll try and remember and bring up a couple of questions that we had on the day. But if you've got any questions as we go through, please drop them in the comments wherever you're watching this, and I'll try and answer them. Active percentage now. This is the number of your members, maybe total members or paying members or contract members, you decide, but the number or percentage of them that have visited in the last 30 days. It's a really good retention gauge for how your business is doing. Whilst we do measure attrition, of course, and 12-month retention and length of stay and lifetime value, these are all great retention stats. Active member percentage is really easy for people to understand and affect. So here it is on a pie chart. Here's an example of a club we work with who, when we last ran this stat, had exactly 2,800 active members. 62% of the member base had visited. In this case, actually, it's in the last 24 days. I won't go into the other segments now, but what the club is then looking at is saying, okay, we're 62% active. What can we do to improve that next month? And talking to staff and coming up with ideas and strategies to say, how can we get more of our members to have visited at least once in the last 30 days? Because that gives us a good gauge on how our business is doing. And I can always come up with ideas, but it's better if the staff, the instructors or the fitness manager or the GMs come up with an idea to say, we're really going to go to town on body composition next month, or we're going to run a specific challenge and it's going to help more members to come in and be active. Or, as I say, other ideas. Their ideas are always better because they're more likely to run with them. And rather than just drawing this, a pie chart is easy to see and you can watch that gauge move if you're just looking at the green line. We want more green members in our club. But you can look at that over months across the year and say, look, we've improved a little bit on last month. We're around 60% active. We're doing better than we were on the 1st of January, for example. So looking at that over time and saying, how many active members have we got? What are we doing? What's helping? Is a really good way of getting all staff to think about retention. They don't need to know lifetime value or an improvement by 0.5% in attrition. Might add thousands to the bottom line. There's a more direct correlation to what they're doing in the club with active member percentage. So a good KPI or stat to look at. So that's your, third retention tip in terms of what you could implement tomorrow to help your club. Active member percentage. The next one, and one of my favorites, and I actually talked about it in my other presentation at the Gym Operators Conference, you can probably find that somewhere on the same place you found this, is body composition. It really is, for me, one of the prime retention interactions for members and staff. If you have body tracks in this picture, or Tanita, InBody, Seca, other devices are available. If you've got one of those in your club, it's a great way to talk to your members. Most members talk about their goal as they join. Have a think about what you think the prime goal is for members in your club. And at the conference, a lot of people said, yeah, we think it's lose weight. Most people join to lose weight. But the fact is, and even we've got a health seeker story about someone who found that she gained weight in her first month. And she was quite upset because her goal was to lose weight, but actually when it was then revealed that she'd gained muscle and lost body fat, which meant her weight on the bathroom scales had gone up, she was then shown on the body tracks actually that, she was leaner and that she felt better and that she was good. Actually, even when people say they want to lose weight, they really want to get results. And you can show what their real goal is to, shape up or, maybe slim down, but losing weight is not always the goal. It's normally a little bit more than that. You should always try and peel those layers back. And that's something you can really do really well with body composition. So in a nutshell, I would offer body composition to all your members, particularly when they join. And we've gone over this with lots of clients over the last few years. Some members are a bit shy or timid or don't want to get on the scales on day one. And it's really important to get them into the habit of getting on the scales. We can say, look, we're going to cover up the readings. We're not going to look at the numbers. You don't need to look at them. I'm not going to look at them. We do need to measure a starting point. And you'll see in 4 weeks or 6 weeks time when we measure again, what amazing results you've got already. So it is really, really important to get people on early in their journey. And then as active members, or as they go past day 30 and they are visiting regularly, probably once a week, twice a week, get them to just jump on the scales every 4 to 6 weeks, or at least 4 times a year. You don't need to do it every week. That's probably a bit much. But offering a body composition appointment with a bit of coaching, a bit of help and education around the numbers is a really good way of getting absent members back as well. And even ex-members. I'll come back to this in a bit, but inviting your ex-members back for a body composition is a great interaction, great way of getting them back into the club, particularly if they've joined another club that doesn't have body composition scales. So offer the measurements to all your members, all the different ways that you can, and that goes from apps and push notifications all the way through to posters in the club with stories, ideally stories of members who've gone through the body composition journey. And mostly, like I said at the top, retention is talking to people. So as you're going around the gym, talking to them, rather than, did you see the football last night, or have you been on holiday this year? When did you last have a body composition? Because probably a lot of your members won't have had one for more than a month. So it's a great interaction excuse. And then in terms of KPIs and measurements, have a look at how many you've done, how many body compositions or program reviews or things like that have been completed this month, or what percentage of your members have had one in the last quarter, and how many repeat appointments do you get as well. It's no good just doing one and that's it. This should be a progressive repeat appointment that your members are going through. So body composition, like I say, I talk about it a bit more in my Health Seekers chat, but a really crucial interaction, and actually is where the Health Seekers movement grew from. So that's probably slightly past halfway of this talk that I gave at the Independent Gym Operator Conference in November. The final 3 parts are the desserts, the sweeteners, if you like. And this is an area where a lot of gym owners and gym operators do stick their head in the sand, I'm afraid. So the first of the 3 is talking about absentees. When members stop visiting your gym, if they've not been for 24 or 30 days or longer, it may be that they'll come back, but there's a good chance that they won't. And unless you do something, there is more chance that they won't come back. So you need to talk to your members, but you need to talk even more to your absent members. Most crucially, the right ones. You don't want to be talking to absent members for the first time or reaching out to them for the first time after they've been absent for 6 months, because that's almost certainly going to mean they cancel. So the right people, it needs to be the people who've been absent for 2 or 3 weeks, I would suggest. And then you need to talk to them in the right way. So use multiple channels. Don't just send an email and expect them to come back. You'll probably need to text them and email them and possibly even send a postcard or a letter or something else. phone is the best way of getting members back. It's also the most expensive or resource-hungry way. People think that letters are very expensive, but making 10 or 20 phone calls it is more expensive in terms of staff. And timing it right. We often send a text message first and then send an email after another 6 days, and then we might then go to the phones. And I looked through some of the phone logs for our clients that make these phone calls, and most of the words in those phone logs are, we're ringing and saying, "Did you get our message? We've not seen you for some time. We hope you're okay." The responses use words like, "Thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I've not been." The word holiday, the word work, the word lazy comes up quite a lot, and way more than the word suspension. Or further down the line, I think less than 5% use the word cancellation. So most people are really grateful for that call, that reach out, that message. Messaging them at the right time is important as well. And that comes down more to your systems and the way you collect swipes and visits. If you're doing that throughout the day, then great, you could send a reminder or know that someone's not been absent at 6 p.m, which is a good time to maybe pick up the phone. But beware the people who have visited that day. If your systems don't update till the next day, you might want to send those messages or make those calls earlier in the morning. There was a big London club who used to send messages to all their absent members every Monday at midday, and they tried this system, turned it on for a month, and their very savvy London clients caught onto this very quickly. So every Monday at midday, everyone got an absent message, and they saw their attrition double. But all they sent was a very standard, very generic email every Monday lunchtime to all their absentees. Their attrition really went through the roof. So it is about timing. It is about using different channels. And it's also about varying that up, which is why the suggestion here is, say, 24 days absent, 30 days absent, 36 days absent. You've got to nudge these people back. One message isn't enough, but also use all the different channels you can. So do something about your absentees is the key message here. Otherwise, it's going to drift off, and the longer you leave it, the harder it is to get them back. When it comes to the crunch, though, if people are looking to leave, then it is really important that you try and learn some lessons from your leavers. We've actually started a few retention projects by not focusing on onboarding and all that, nice new member stuff. Let's get some more. We've got some data. Let's get more data from our leavers. So try and talk to them all. That's really hard work, particularly these days as the majority tend to cancel at the bank. But even if people do cancel their direct debit, sending them a message or a survey or something that just says, "Look, we want to learn from you," it's good, because if you get a couple of responses from 50, sure, you can follow up the other 48. Those 2 people that are giving you some information, let's pick up the phone to them. Let's try and have a conversation with them. We're not initially looking to save people, and this is really important. Even when you're picking up the phone or having a conversation over an email or just with a survey, we're looking to learn from you. We want to improve our club. So that's why we want to understand why you want to leave, or why we're sending you this cancellation form to help process your leave request. Let's get information, because with some information, we can then start to have a conversation with them to get a bit more information. If they're moving away, okay, they're moving away. There's probably not a lot you can do unless you've got another club where they're moving to, but you need to find out where they're moving to start to action that. Or maybe there's a partner club there that you could work with in their new town. If there's a problem with time and money, then again, you might think there's nothing you can do, but is there a way of dropping them down to a cheaper health seeker membership where they just have to visit once a month? It solves the money and the time problem, but keeps them engaged. Once you've learned something from them, it might just be something that you can improve to stop someone leaving tomorrow, or stop the person that's joining tomorrow from leaving in 2 or 3 months' time. You can go through, maybe there's a save process, but ultimately finish off with a thank you. It's really important to say thank you. They've been giving you their business maybe just for a month, but maybe for 2 or 3 years. So say thank you for that time and that income supporting your business, because it leaves the door open. I mentioned this just briefly now, that we want to push people up this graph as much as possible, from just having a 99p app subscription all the way up to, spending hundreds of pounds a month with you buying PT. Not everyone will get up there, but there is also a downgrade save on the way back here. So people who don't want a traditional membership visiting once or possibly twice or 3 times a week, if they don't have the time or money, let's put them onto a body composition or a nutrition membership where they pop in once a month or even once a quarter, some coaching and a body composition measurement. So the downgrade save route is a way of saying, not enough money, not enough time, okay, we've still got you. Or people who want to cancel in the summer because they're playing tennis and maybe doing more park run. Well, let's drop you down to a body composition measurement membership or subscription, and you can carry on visiting once a month, but doing all your other sports and activities. Again, more on that in the Health Seekers chat if you're interested. So levers lessons, really important to start off here. I can't stress it enough. Let's try and learn from them. Let's not get into objection handling and trying to save them straight away, because it's much harder. If you talk to them and listen to them first of all, you'll learn some stuff. You'll stop more people from leaving tomorrow. But you now have more information and can try and maybe save the membership and finally say thank you. The final part now in terms of ex-member engagement. It's not an ancient Chinese proverb. It's something that I wrote like a proverb. Rejoining an ex-member is much easier than a new member sale. You know this to be true. So let's think about using ex-member databases more. They're a massively untapped resource, I think, in the fitness industry. So as people leave, the first little tip, why not have a 30-day cooling off period? I understand you're cancelling today and you don't want to visit the gym anymore, and these were the reasons. Thanks for the feedback. If you change your mind in the next 30 days, you can come back on something very inventive, like maybe a no-join fee. But what that actually does is it gives you license to write to this member again a couple of times, maybe around day 15 after they've left. Maybe at day 28 to say, just a couple of days left if you did want to change your mind. So it stays in touch with them. And there was some really interesting research from Dr. Melvin Hillsden a couple of weeks ago at the Connect CX Summit that says, the sweet spot for people rejoining is between 4 and 6 months. But that's really with very few communications. So if you know that a lot of ex-members come back around 6 months, let's message them at month 1 and at month 2 and at month 3 with different offers, which I'll get onto in a sec, to see if we can bring that forward and get our ex-members back after 4 months on average. So just being front of mind is really good. And rather than sending an offer, or like I say, something very inventive like a half-price membership or no joining fee, let's not send offers out to our ex-members all the time. Let's send a survey asking what they think about health and fitness, or, what are they up to now, or what's their latest goal? Or let's send an invitation to them to say, look, we've got 10 health checks worth £30 for ex-members like you. And by like you, I mean members that left 2 months ago. The point is, it's an invitation to come back into the club. We're not talking about joining. We're not talking about no join fee. We're just saying, we would like to see you again. Why don't you pop back in? We know you joined the other gym, and we know you're doing park run these days. That's fine. But your other gym doesn't have a Tanita. So pop back in and use ours, normally £30, and we can just stay in touch. So send in like these kind of comms, send in these nurturing messages, maybe with a recipe, maybe with a health tip in there, is a great way of staying engaged with your ex-members, because at some point they're going to want to rejoin a gym. And if you're front of mind, they'll be coming back to you. So that's my whiz through some different retention ideas. Hopefully you can take one or two of those and use them in your club, and that will help some of your members to stick around, which will help a few more people be fitter and healthier. That's my main thing. So some starters for you, those ways of getting your new members to get engaged and stay engaged and get in the habit of giving and leaving feedback, positive and negative. Your mains, ways of keeping active members active. And then the desserts, sweeteners to either get absentees back or to find out more about or re-engage leavers or even save them and bring active members back. A couple of snippets at the end. I wasn't sure whether to include this, but I'm going to chuck this out there. If you were at the Gym Operators Conference, you may or may not have seen this QR code, or you can go to ggfit.com/talk2. It doesn't matter about the case. And you'll be able to download the retention recipes book. That's the second part. If you're quick, you can get a license for the membership retention essentials course. It's an e-learning course, 45 minutes. Some of these tips are in there, but it basically gives anyone working in leisure a bit more purpose and a bit more understanding of retention. So as I say, it was really an event offer, but if you get it in the next week or two, then you can get onto, there's a form there that you can put your details in, and you can get a license for the membership retention essentials course, normally £45. You can't purchase my book, Stick Around. I've got a couple of copies here on the shelf, but that was a on the day Movember offer. You can purchase it from Amazon.com. If you like this and you want the retention Bible, strategies to keep your gym members motivated, then go and have a look for that on Amazon. But thank you very much for watching this. I hope you found it useful. If you want to connect, like I said before, drop me a comment below, or if you've got any other questions, or you can always drop me an email to guy@ggfit.com. Thank you very much for listening.